Well, joining us today for Spotlight is Asso Hassan Zadeh. He's the former Deputy Secretary General of the Kurdish Democratic Party of Iran, the KDPI. Great to have you with us on the program today. Let's start, if we may, with what you've been hearing on your end. Could you lay out the situation on the ground for us according to what you've been able to gather from your contacts there?
Thank you for having me. First of all, I would like to rectify something that has been said in the opening of this news edition. I do not agree with the term used to qualify Iranian political parties as separatists, as the political program of those parties, as well as the written document that constitutes the basis of the newly created coalition of the Iranian political forces, Iranian Kurdish political forces demonstrated. Our political parties are continuing the struggle for the achievement of national rights of the Kurdish people within the framework of a democratic Iran. Now, as for your question, I can tell you that today, as during the past few days, the Iranian army kept striking our bases and headquarters and the camps of the civilians of families of the members of our parties. And right now, the Iranian regime, fearing the possibility of a ground offensive with the participation of the Kurdish forces, the Iranian regime is concentrating a large number of its troops along the borders.
What's the position of your party, Asso, the Kurdistan Democratic Party of Iran, with regards to all of this? I understand that your party is in coalition with other major Iranian Kurdish parties, and your stated objectives include toppling the Islamic Republic.
Yes, well, unlike Gulf countries that were dragged into this conflict without being previously in direct confrontation with the Islamic Republic, Kurdish people, both in Iran and Iraqi Kurdistan, are affected by this war. Not only because with the U.S. broadening the scope of the targets in Iranian Kurdistan, targeting the non-strategic military bases of the Iranian army. So the Kurdish territories in both Iran and Iraq constitute a battlefield. But this war is conducted against a regime, namely the Islamic Republic, that has been conducting and waging a war against the Kurdish people for more than almost 5 decades. So it does affect us. As you know, the latest wave of repression of the Iranian protesters showed that this regime cannot be overthrown through street protests. That is why, if at the end of this war, this regime falls, of course, we will be happy. So we are affected by this war, but we want and we have the potential capacity of constituting a major factor in shifting the U.S. policy towards Iran towards a regime change and the constitution of a democratic alternative that would be inclusive and respecting the rights of all segments of Iranian society.
So then, to reach that objective that you laid out for us just now, are you in contact with the US in order to make this happen? And when push comes to shove, would Kurds be ready to step in and ultimately intervene in Iran?
Well, I'm not in a position to provide any details regarding the level, the nature, and the content of the contacts and the discussions. But I can confirm that unprecedented contacts have been made between the U.S. administration and our political parties in the framework of this coalition of Iranian Kurdish political forces. If we can get rid of this regime, this war, that could be, we would like to seize this opportunity to both play a role that would constitute an incentive to the rest of the Iranian peoples and the Iranian population in order to put an end to this regime. But at the same time, as right now the Iranian regime is using the Iranian population, civilians, as a human shield, and there would be a risk of seeing the regime take revenge on the civilians in case where a ground offensive is launched through our participation. There are many conditions to be met. Most important, apart from the fact that our Peshmerga forces do need military assistance, but we would like to ensure that there is a guarantee by constituting, setting up a kind of no-fly zone in order to preventing the Iranian regime take such a revenge on our civilians.
So many conditions to be met, you say, but if we were to imagine, a direct confrontation here, what military capabilities do the Kurds have, and hypothetically, how would the US and/or Israel amplify such operations?
Well, I'm not a military expert, but I can tell you that Iranian Kurdish political parties have been fighting against this regime from the outset because of the presence of the headquarters and bases on the Iraqi Kurdish territories, and the fact that they are deeply rooted among the population, and they have a huge leverage on the population, which is of Kurdistan, which is the most mobilized and most politicized part of the Iranian population. And in the past, even before the war, each time our parties called for general strikes, those calls were systematically responded favorably by our population. So our Peshmerga forces and our parties have this leverage on the population, have very strong links, and they have a perfect knowledge of the ground and a huge determination to put an end to this regime. But from the military perspective, I think even with the missile and drone regimes, missiles and drones being destroyed, I think without the military assistance and let's say air coverage of any military move from the Kurdish side, although I am sure that our Peshmerga forces are in the capacity of taking over Kurdish territories and even beyond, but I'm not sure that without such an assistance, such a military assistance, the regime won't crash or crack down such a move.
So in terms of, your relationship with the Iraqi government, because as I understand it, Baghdad's position is shaped mainly by relations with Iran. How does this complexity then tie into what's happening now with Tehran?
Well, as you know, our base headquarters and bases and our Peshmerga forces are based mainly on the Iraqi Kurdish territories, which, as you know, constitute an autonomous entity. The fact is the Iraqi Kurdistan, especially during the past days, even cities have been targeted. The strikes again, Iranian strikes against Iraqi Kurdistan targeted not only military bases but also Iraqi Kurdish cities. So today there is a fear, of course, from the Kurdistan regional government as for the next step in this war. But one should note that the Iraqi Kurdish government does not have much room for maneuver. It constitutes a strategic friend of the United States while having neighboring relations with the Iranian regime that can destabilize easily the Iraqi Kurdistan. But at the same time, I think that the United States should foresee the assistance of both Kurdish Iranian Kurds and Iraqi Kurds in the same package, because if the Iranian that would be in the interest of the Iraqi Kurds as well, and the Iraqi Kurdistan region would no longer be under the threat and blackmail of the Islamic Republic.
So then if Iranian Kurds were to stage a cross-border ground operation into Iran, it could, obviously open a new front against the Iranian government. What's the likelihood of this happening? And how is Tehran anticipating this move from the Kurds, do you think?
Well, the Iranian regime's anticipation is twofold. On one side, they are continuing their traditional rhetoric regarding our real and final motivations by accusing us of separatism, an argument that is also perceivable among some segments of the Iranian opposition, especially the Pahlavi camp, which is regrettable. And on the other side, as previously said, the Iranian regime is already concentrating a large number of its troops along the borders and planning to use Iranian Kurdish cities as a human shield. So the task would not be easy, but in any case, our political parties are ready for any scenarios.
So then to what extent could an armed uprising in Iran's Kurdish region then perhaps galvanize other Kurds around the region?
Well, other parts of Kurdistan, as you know, have been already active as we are. Of course, that would affect the situation in the other parts of Kurdistan. But while belonging to the same nation whose territory has been divided without our consent, we do consider that the Kurdish question in each part of Kurdistan has its own peculiarities, and it's up to the political forces of each part of Kurdistan to decide what would be next. But in any case, I can tell you there is a strong sense of solidarity. Well, there is hope and fear at the same time. But in any case, I would like to once again emphasize the fact that if we see an Iran, a new Iran without the Islamic Republic, an Iran in which we have genuine democratic institutions and a constitution that does recognize the rights of the oppressed nationalities in Iran, including Kurds, through a federal system. It would not lead ipso facto to the creation of a greater Kurdistan.
Thank you so much for your time today. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for, but very interesting to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.